Feeling good.
It's an evening with Michael Bublé.
Good morning, America. Breaking news. Multiple wildfires burning out of control through California right now.
Go, 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 go.
One destroys a town called Paradise, burning down homes, businesses, a preschool, even a hospital going up in flames.
We lost everything.
The wind whips up this tornado as thousands race to escape,
Oh my God, the tree's burning right next to us.
abandoning their cars, running on foot as flames close in on both sides.
Also this morning, the search for answers in that deadly mass shooting at a California bar. The video showing those moments of terror. What we're now learning about the 12 people who were killed, some as they were trying to save others.
Breaking overseas, terror attack, a car up in flames, a man going on a stabbing rampage, killing at least one person before police take him down.
New clue. As authorities search for that 13-year-old girl snatched from her family's front yard, the FBI releases this surveillance video. Why they want to speak with this man.
An ABC News exclusive, one-on-one with former First Lady Michelle Obama, revealing new details about her marriage and her struggle with infertility.
I didn't know how common miscarriages were because we don't talk about it.
Her empowering message about taking control of your own future. And President Trump, why she says she'll never forgive him, only on GMA this morning.
Live in Times Square, this is GMA with Robin Roberts, George Stephanopoulos, and Michael Strahan.
Good morning, America. Hope you are well this Friday morning. Cannot wait to hear your conversation with Michelle Obama. She says they're talking about things you don't talk about. She really does.
She really does. She's very open. She's very candid. It's all in advance of her memoir, Becoming, which will be released next week. And so we'll have a first look coming up a little bit later this morning.
Cannot wait for that. But we're going to begin this morning with the race to escape those massive wildfires in California. 3 major fires are burning across the state right now, 2 of them exploding in Southern California overnight. Let's take a look at the flames that are completely destroying homes, and thousands are being ordered to evacuate.
And another even bigger fire that's being called the Camp Fire is burning in the north, completely destroying a town called Paradise. A state of emergency has been declared and evacuation orders are in place. Our chief national affairs correspondent, Tom Yamas, starts us off on the ground there in Paradise. Good morning, Tom.
Robin, good morning. It's hard to believe that a place called Paradise could now look like this. As you mentioned, the mayor of this town says it is entirely destroyed because of that wildfire. Just behind me, take a look. This used to be a neighborhood pharmacy. It was burnt to the ground. It is still burning at this hour. We can feel the heat from the flames, and a majority of the town looks just like this. This wildfire was moving so fast, Robin. One report said it was burning 80 football fields a minute. That's how fast it was. People literally were forced to run from their homes, run from their cars, and try to seek shelter.
This morning, tunnels of fire forcing people to run for their lives. A raging inferno burning through Northern California. The Camp Wildfire destroying homes, hospitals, and businesses, and burning an entire town off the map. A town called Paradise. Now, hell on earth.
I'm so scared.
Overnight, firefighters working to beat back the towering flames. The widespread fire engulfing everything in its path. This house, covered in flames, slowly burning to pieces. This car, completely incinerated. This hospital, just one of the estimated 2,000 structures reduced to ashes by the fire. Doctors forced to evacuate patients from the threatening flames.
Any units at the River Hospital, we've got 4 people trapped in the basement.
One of them, a nurse, trapped in the hospital basement. With no way to escape, she posted a goodbye letter to her family on Facebook, attaching this terrifying video of what she was facing. Tamara Ferguson writing, "To all my friends and family, and especially John and my kids, I love you with all my heart. I am trapped in this horrific fire and can't get out." But police got to her just in time, rescuing everyone trapped. Teachers also saving lives. Travis Pendergrass from Paradise Charter Middle School helped evacuate children before getting out of town himself.
We lost everything, trailers, all our belongings. Now we're on grinding rock just trying to save everybody else's stuff.
Southbound from Feather River Hospital on 10th is all blocked by fire.
The fire, which broke out just before dawn on Thursday, erupting into a massive blaze bigger than the island of Manhattan in a matter of hours. The column of thick black smoke blotting out the sun, turning day into night as the entire town of Paradise scrambled to evacuate. A community of 27,000 ordered to get out. Residents fleeing from the fast-moving wildfire, taking only what they could carry, some with no hope for what was left behind.
I tried calling the house and the machine didn't pick up.
The whipping winds also a cause for concern. Gusts of up to 33 miles per hour feeding the growing fire. The culmination of the chaos resulting in this fire-nado, captured by Laura Anthony of our ABC station, KGO.
To sit there and watch that and the ferocity of it, it was quite a scene. Fascinating on one hand, but mostly my heart was sinking.
The mayor of Paradise says they're going to rebuild, but they may have to rebuild this entire town. Robin, just behind me, you can see the force of this fire. It burned everything to the ground. All of this metal completely melted to the bottom, and the flames still burning at this hour. More than 500 firefighters are currently fighting this wildfire. As we were driving in through the night, we saw fire crews from all over California coming to this area in Northern California to help fight this wildfire that is still out of control. Robin?
Such an unbelievable scene. All right, Tom, thank you so much. And those heroes that stepped up like they did.
Absolutely, absolutely heroes, Robin. And we have more now on the desperate race to get out of as the flames move in. Drivers surrounded by walls of fire, stuck in a gridlock as they try to escape. ABC's Will Carr is also there in Paradise, and he has more on that. Good morning, Will.
Good morning, Michael. This is a hellish scene. Home after home has burned to the ground. You can feel that heat coming off of these flames. Many homeowners in this area only had seconds to try to get to safety.
The race to escape.
Go, 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 go.
More than 30,000 people fleeing for their lives.
Move, people.
Hurrying down clogged evacuation routes.
This is bad.
Watching destruction unfold around them.
All those homes gone.
I can feel the heat now.
Can you feel the heat?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. The Chatfield family fleeing down a road consumed in flames, driving into the unknown. Smoke blacking out the afternoon sky.
Heavenly Father, please help us. Please help us to be safe. I'm thankful for Jeremy and his willingness to be brave.
Narrowly escaping, finding daylight on the other side.
We're in Butte County. We are surrounded by flames in this neighborhood. You can see flames shooting out of the home next to me. This is the campfire. It exploded today. The homes next to us have completely gone up in flames. This looks like a scene from Armageddon. As we're walking along, you can feel the heat coming off of these homes. You can see right here, this home already burned to the ground. What looks like a tree that is still burning here. All of those homes in the background on fire right now.
People driving straight through roaring flames. The fire bringing a tree down right on this man's car.
Oh my God, the tree's burning right next to us. Oh.
This mother and son frantically escaping.
Oh my God.
The roaring flames on both sides closing in.
And the conditions aren't getting any better for firefighters. We're still in a red flag warning. That means strong winds, low humidity, and bone dry conditions. Perfect fire conditions moving forward for the next 24 hours. Michael.
All right, thank you so much, Will. Such frightening video there. George?
And Michael, that fire in Northern California, not the only one burning right now. Two other fires broke out within miles of each other in southern part of the state, forcing thousands to evacuate overnight. ABC's Clayton Sandell is there in Oak Park, California with the latest. Good morning, Clayton.
Hey, good morning, George. We're here at the Woolsey fire. This fire exploded overnight. Now more than 8,000 acres. You can see what it's done to parts of this neighborhood. Firefighters are here putting out some hot spots here. And we understand that the house right behind me here actually belonged to a firefighter who lives in this neighborhood and is out there fighting the fires right now. Now, these flames have been pushed by these ferocious Santa Ana winds, 50-mile-an-hour gusts and more overnight. And when the fire is moving that quickly, firefighters cannot contain that fire. They are simply trying to get ahead of it and protect homes where they can. But as you can see, it is a bit of a losing battle in some cases. We're told there are around 30,000 people that have evacuated and 30,000 homes that are threatened by this fire and the Hill fire, which is burning a few miles to the west. But luckily, firefighters tell us nobody has been killed and there have been no injuries on this fire, but still a very dangerous situation, George.
Yeah, those fires are fierce. Okay, Clayton, thanks very much. Robin?
And George, now to the other major story in California, that deadly mass shooting in a bar. We're now learning more about the 12 people killed, some of them as they were trying to save lives. 18 people were also injured, and we want you to take a look. Hundreds waiting in line to donate blood for those who were injured. Kena Whitworth is there in Thousand Oaks with more. Good morning, Kena.
Robin, good morning. The sheriff saying yesterday that this could have been so much worse if not for those heroes that were inside. But for the people that didn't make it, their families, friends, and this community are forever changed. And today, one mother is calling for action. This morning, newly obtained cell phone video shows what happened in those terrifying moments when the former Marine stormed a popular country music bar, shooting everything in his path. 6 endless seconds of eerie silence between rounds.
Guys, run! Go! He's coming out this door!
12 killed, including a sheriff's deputy. Hours after the shooting, the FBI arriving at the home of the shooter, Ian David Long. He lived here with his mother. These images on Facebook show Long in what appears to be happier times, but police confirming they responded to a disturbance at Long's home in April.
He was somewhat irate, acting a little irrationally, felt he might be suffering from PTSD, basing that the fact he was a veteran.
This morning, we're learning more about the victims. Jason Kaufman spoke to his son Cody as the 22-year-old was on his way to the bar.
First thing I said was, please don't drink and drive. Last thing I said was, son, I love you. That was the last thing I said.
A few hours later, he learned the devastating news.
I just want him to know that he is gonna be missed.
18-year-old Elena Housley, a freshman at Pepperdine University, enjoying a night out with friends, line dancing, when she was gunned down. She is the niece of Sister star Tamara Mowry Housley. The actress writing on Instagram, "My sweet Elena, my heart breaks. I'm still in disbelief. It's not fair how you were taken, how soon you were taken from us." Zach Fry and Tyler Odenkirk say 2 of their friends who worked as security guards at Borderline are among the dead.
I know that they did everything that they could in their final moments.
We were told one of them he went out a hero. He went out fighting the shooter.
One of their friends, Telemachus Orfanos, an Eagle Court and Navy veteran who survived the Las Vegas massacre, only to be killed at Borderline. His mother now pleading for change.
I don't want prayers. I don't want thoughts. I want gun control, and I hope to God nobody else sends me any more prayers. I want gun control. No more guns.
And sheriff's deputies around the country mourning the loss of Ron Helis, a 29-year veteran of the force who was killed when he tried to confront the shooter.
Sergeant Helis was having a conversation with his wife on the phone, as he does several times during the shift, and said to her, "Hey, I got to go handle the call. I love you. I'll talk to you later."
Overnight, a heartbroken community coming together as they try to make sense of the unthinkable. Now, authorities saying that he did purchase that gun legally, a .45 caliber Glock, but it did have an extended magazine. And people I spoke with said the sound of those gunshots will keep them up at night. And Robin, this morning, still no word on a motive.
How do you make sense of the senseless? All right, Kena, thank you so much.
And as we remember the victims, take a look at a procession that's held for the hero sheriff's deputy, Sergeant Ron Helis, who was among the first to arrive on the scene and run toward danger. He exchanged gunfire with the shooter, helping save some of the hundreds of people inside that bar. Helis was a 29-year veteran of the force. The sheriff said he was looking to retire in the next year or so, and he leaves behind a wife and a son. The sheriff saying he was a cop's cop, and we miss him. We miss him already, and we're in mourning as an agency. We're in mourning as a community, and our prayers are definitely with everyone there.
Yeah, he did not hesitate at all to go in and do his duty.
No.
We're going to switch gears now and go to Washington and growing fallout from President Trump's firing of Attorney General Jeff Sessions. The president's temporary pick to replace him, Matthew Whitaker, is now facing a possible legal challenge and calls to remove himself from the Russia investigation as the president considers permanent nominees for Attorney General. Our senior White House correspondent Cecilia Vega tracking all the new developments. Good morning, Cecilia.
Hey, George, good morning to you. Before he was at the Justice Department, Whitaker was a conservative commentator, which means there is a long public record of all of his comments on all things Donald Trump. And now those interviews on radio and television are coming to light and fueling these calls for his recusal. This morning, President Trump's new acting attorney general is under fire for previously criticizing the very investigation he now oversees. Matthew Whitaker taking over at the Department of Justice after Jeff Sessions was ousted in the hours after Election Day. And now the one-time conservative commentator's past comments are coming back to haunt him.
The truth is there was no collusion with the Russians in the Trump campaign.
Last year, in a series of radio interviews, Whitaker bashed Robert Mueller's Russia probe.
There is not a single piece of evidence that demonstrates that the Trump campaign had any illegal or even improper relationships with Russians. I mean, it's that simple.
On the question of collusion by President Trump,
if all he did was make a mere suggestion and not an outright command, I don't think that rises to the level
Couldn't have been the same.
He also called Mueller's appointment ridiculous and said it smells a little fishy.
I just hope it doesn't turn into a fishing expedition, because I will be one of the ones jumping up and down.
Good for you, yeah.
Making sure that limitations on this investigation continue, because that's the way it's supposed to be.
And he forcefully defended President Trump.
It is not helping this administration and really not helping the federal government generally to have the president and his associates under the cloud of a federal investigation. I mean, it is very hard.
Unlike Sessions, sources tell ABC News Whitaker will not recuse himself from overseeing the Russia probe, something that has Democrats outraged.
I think he has a clear conflict of interest in terms of overseeing any part of the Mueller investigation.
And it's not just on Capitol Hill. Overnight, protesters around the country, from New York to Chicago to the White House, calling on Whitaker to step aside. But inside the White House, sources tell ABC Whitaker is on the short list to permanently lead the Justice Department. That list also includes at least a half dozen other political supporters, like the president's personal attorney, Rudy Giuliani, former New Jersey governor and current ABC News contributor Chris Christie, Senator Lindsey Graham, and Florida Attorney General Pam Bondi. And now it's not just Democrats that are sounding the alarm about Whitaker. A prominent conservative lawyer who also happens to be the husband of Kellyanne Conway wrote an op-ed along with the former Solicitor General under President Obama. They say this appointment is unconstitutional and anything Whitaker does in this temporary position should be invalid. George, they want to see him undergo a Senate confirmation hearing because they say there's been no scrutiny of his record.
And that could lead to a legal challenge. Meantime, on the search for a replacement, how quickly does the president hope to act here?
Well, we're hearing there's no real rush to get this done. He may want to wait until Mueller's investigation is finished.
Okay, Cecilia Vega, thanks very much.
It's been quite a week. You're going to have a lot to talk about on this week. Let's go to Ginger now in Chicago, where snow and that cold blast moving in. Ginger?
Yes, it's been snowing here in Chicago. The second time they've seen flakes this season, undoubtedly affecting the commute this morning from here to Michigan. But look at what it did in Kansas. A quick look, up to 6 inches, up to 12 in Nebraska. The weekend getaways now by Can You Ever Forgive Me?
It's the genuine article. Can You Ever Forgive Me has been certified fresh on Rotten Tomatoes. Top critics are raving.
Can you keep a secret?
Oh my. Melissa McCarthy is a force of nature.
I'm embellishing literary letters by prominent writers.
How much are you getting for them?
1 month's rent. Wow.
Like you've never seen her before. It's a captivating true story.
I'm gonna go to jail for this.
You always put her down on everything, you know? Can You Ever Forgive Me? Rated R.
A few spotty showers this morning, but the rain is going to be picking up later today for the afternoon and evening rush. It's going to be fairly wet. Moderate rain in the forecast between 1 and about 6 p.m. And notice our temperatures out of the 40s and into the lower 50s. That cold air feeling like winter. December rushes in behind the front. Tomorrow, blustery, the high 48 with wind chills in the 20s and 30s, probably going into Sunday morning. Monday still looking dry with a few clouds around the area.
Coming up, that ABC News exclusive with former First Lady Michelle Obama, opening up like you've never seen before. What she's saying about the president, what she's saying about her marriage, IVF after a miscarriage, her message for other families. The first look only on GMA this morning.
Now this is Daddy's favorite song.